What is up, everybody? It is Crux of Crypto here, and well, it's Crux from Crux of Crypto here. And last Thursday I wasn't able to do the live stream, but I have a lot of information that I think I need to update you guys on. And actually, over this weekend, I was with Tim Shrum-Smay. We had a very blessed weekend over there in Tampa, Florida, and we talked about the quarter, what is happening in the next 3 months, not only in crypto, but with the content that we're producing for you guys. And I think you guys are going to like it. I have a couple things later on that I'm going to show you guys about that, but there's a couple cryptos that have popped off in the last 2 weeks that I'm very bullish on. And me as an analyst, I like to give stuff a little bit of time, let it marinate a little bit before I really start giving these buy calls, especially with the gem hunters. But crypto it's crazy at this point. We're starting to see all these different cryptos popping up left and right, and everybody has the same questions. Which ones do we want exposure to? So that's what I do, as a fundamental analyst. That's my bread and butter. And I see a couple people here. Crypto Billy, he's been the first, I think, of the last 4 live streams. I'm gonna definitely give a shout out to Giver's Gain at the end of this stream, because they have one of their weekly sessions going on at the end of like later on today. So very important discussion that I'll have later on with them. And then we got Carl. You're definitely one of the first that's always commenting. We got Crypto AI. And then H. Bardano Bean, I just gave you moderator status. So if you guys are being active, I see Trade Intuition, welcome. That's how you get your moderator status. So continue to spread the good word of the Crux of Crypto. We're here to build. We're here to teach people about crypto. And I'm giving out free mods. So welcome to the discussion. All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the current state of the markets. Also, something to consider is my Stream Deck, which is all my hotkeys, isn't working right now, so I have to manually go through and click everything to swap stuff. So bear with me today. It's going to be a little bit laggy in terms of like my transitions into scenes and stuff, but I think we'll get it done. So we're sitting under 4 trillion market cap. Not too bad. A lot of people are kind of freaking out over the last 48 hours or so, but we're starting to see a little bit of recovery in some of the altcoins. But something to consider is, if you look at the Bitcoin dominance, we're starting to push back above that 56%. That's pretty big. As we got as low as 55% according to CoinGecko, and that's again something I always consider when I'm looking at what part of the bull market are we in. Bitcoin dominance is incredibly important for that. Now, each day that goes by, I'm more and more getting I'm more and more getting optimistic of a 2026 peak or a forever bull market. And I have a couple news articles that will explain exactly why. Getting into this bull market, 2023, 2022 happened. I got crypto very low, sub 25K Bitcoin. And I told myself, sell in Q4, the year after Bitcoin's halving, which would be in the next couple months. And I'm still going to sell some, and I'm not going to lie, but I will tell you guys, not everyone got really good buys like I did, and I don't want to lead people in the wrong direction. So if you hear Crux selling, it doesn't mean to go sell all your bags. It means we may have gotten different price entries, and you always got to remember, crypto is relative. Investing is relative in general. So not everyone needs to take profits at the same time. Not everyone bought at the same time, and not everybody has the same goals. So that's what I'm here to teach and educate people on, is where are we currently at in the state of the markets. And overall, I'm fairly optimistic. As you can see, let's go back to this scene here. I got my white lights up. White always means neutral. So if the computer's green, it's green up here, or the light back there is green. That means we're having some bullishness. But right now, who knows? We might dip a little bit more. And as we go into possibly a 2026 peak, we have to change our mindset on all of this stuff. Crypto has worked with this 4-year cycle that's been incredibly accurate. And, without getting too long-winded on that part, I'll push those news articles that are going to definitely explain why I'm starting to feel a little bit more like the 4-year cycle may be broken. So also, you see it up there. Smash that like, hit subscribe, and then also, let me see if I can hide this, if this will work. Nope, that's not it. There we go. Follow on X and join Discord. So this is all free stuff. You know, this is how you can help support the community. We are growing. We have almost 250 members. Actually, we have 275 members that are, you know, paying for our Discord, and we have over 3,700 free members in our Discord server. So we're here to educate you guys on, you know, where we're headed. So without further ado, let's jump into the trending projects. Again, my bread and butter. Everybody, at least half of you guys are here, probably listening about Aster. You know, this thing, I haven't covered it since, again, last Thursday. I was traveling to head over to Tim's house, and I wasn't able to do my live stream. So this is my first time I get to actually cover this project, and I'm constantly getting asked about it in the Discord. Yeah, so Binance. Binance has done extremely well as of late in terms of maintaining their market cap. Binance Coin, BNB, is sitting close to its all-time high right now. So Binance Coin has done very well culturally. You know, Eastern cryptos invest much different than Western. They like to hodl. Eastern or Western societies, we like to try to buy the lows, sell the highs, and get, you know, cute with it. So that's something to consider. Aster is a BNB token and is backed by none other than CZ in the Binance chain. It's actually multi-chain, so that's something to consider also as I compare it to another project that's also trending, which is Avantis. So this crypto, in the Gem Hunters, we gave a buy call at 60 cents. It was actually a free call in the Discord server. So if you were in the free Discord server and you're monitoring, you know, this was almost a 4x. Actually, it was a 4x at its all-time high, and this was within like 2 weeks from the call. So something to consider. Again, tons of free alpha in the Discord server. Avantis, this plays a little bit different than the last one that I was just talking about. And the biggest note is it's built on a different network. So you have Base, and then you have Finance, which was the last project. Also, look at the market caps. You're sitting at something 4 times lower. And Avantis is not as proven as this other one, but Aster, you see them both on the thumbnail, Avantis and Aster. I personally believe these are both solid projects. They've been trending ever since they've launched. I think, you know, getting into the whole Hyperliquid news, these guys are here to play. Hyperliquid has been a absolute killer in terms of getting into that top 15 for its first bull market. And in crypto, that does not happen. You know, you don't just launch a crypto, it gets into the top 15. That's an anomaly. And we're starting to see some of that liquidity come from Hyperliquid and enter these two projects. So if you have any Aster or Avantis, go ahead and mention which one you have in the comments, and let's see which one has more exposure in our community. And again, I like both of them. I think it's worth holding both. All right, moving on. We have another trending cryptocurrency. It's called Hemi. This is a layer 2 scaling solution built on Bitcoin, but it's different than like Lightning Network, for example. So Lightning is created for having like these state channels that you can batch transactions and then you can process them on the main network. But Hemi, think of this more as like EVM compatibility or a programmability layer on Bitcoin. So it's done fairly well, as you can see. It's starting to trend. It's been trending for at least a week at this point. And we're starting to see it actually enter some positive price action. Now, always remember, you know, everything that I say here, it's not financial advice. This is just me going through all these different projects and trying to break them down to you, because I think that's what you guys are here for, is what's a simple part in all of these hundreds and thousands and even millions of projects that are dumping on, like all of us, like entering the market. How do we filter out the good from the bad? And right now, the Bitcoin community, you have your core, you have your knots. These are two different communities trying to discuss what is the future for Bitcoin. So as I go back into this project Hemi, these guys are going to be more towards the knots, which are more focused on programmability of Bitcoin. You know, me personally, you know, I've had a while to think about this. I actually want Bitcoin to be just a settlement layer. You know, you have networks like Solana, for example, that are considered execution layers. So think of it like the slower networks are going to be your settlement. The faster networks are going to be your execution. And that's because the use cases are different. If you're trying to game, in crypto, you're going to need something that can execute. If you need to use DeFi applications, that's why Aave, $35 billion in total value lock, is built on the hottest network, which is Ethereum. So we're starting to try to really figure out what is the true identity of Bitcoin as we enter year 15. And yeah, so you guys tell me which ones you're part of. Are you Bitcoin not or Bitcoin core? Do you want programmability coming to Bitcoin? Or do you want it to remain a peer-to-peer cash system that was created with Satoshi's vision in mind? And also remember, whenever you add programmability to it, you reduce the security through exploits of malicious actors, and then you also bog down the network through quote-unquote spam. So everything has a cost in crypto or a trade-off. And again, at this point, I've had a ton of time to think about it. I used to be all about freedom, allowing people to build and do all these things. But this network to me is, I'm not going to say archaic, but we need to protect it at all cost. And, security and decentralization is what sticks out Bitcoin from everything else. It's the most decentralized network in the world. It's the most secure network in the world. And, I'm very bullish on Kaspa. That's where the scalability comes in. That's where Kaspa makes its, debut into the market. But right now, there's nothing more secure or decentralized than Bitcoin. So, Hemi, say all this just to bring back up Hemi. I think this is a solid project. All right, let's move on to some more trending cryptocurrencies. We got some Hyperliquid. This one's clearly trending for obvious reasons. I just talked about two big competitors that have entered the market and two of the hottest networks. You got Binance and then you got Base. You have so much liquidity in those two ecosystems. And Hyperliquid, even though it is multi-chain, it is finally fighting to remain that number one position. So we still see 12 bill market cap. That's nothing to scoff at. I keep on getting the names mixed up, but Aster, which is the one that is backed by Binance and CZ, this is 4 times smaller. It's sitting at about a 3 billion market cap. And then as we see, Avantis is much, much smaller. It would be 24 times smaller, sitting at just 500 mil market cap. But all of that liquidity that's going from those two projects are really, a lot of it's flowing from Hyperliquid. So personally, I own some Hyperliquid, and we're starting to see the early stages of what could be maybe a sub $30 Hyperliquid. And I'm not trying to spread FUD, but again, as an analyst, I try to get ahead of this stuff. It's kind of like Ethereum. Ethereum was a front runner, but then you had Solana, and then you had all these other smart contract ecosystems, and it took from the market cap. So that's what competition is. Competition in crypto and every other market is healthy. So we want the competition to continue, coming in and challenging these projects for that number one spot. And I'll talk about a couple more of these that I'm bullish on, and then we'll move on to the Q&A, and then we'll do the news section, a couple different news sections, and then we'll move on to the Q&A. I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. Haven't talked to you guys in like 4 days, and for me that's eternity because I love talking to my community. So you guys know I'm bullish on Pudgy Penguins. Linea, not so bullish on. OG, I haven't done enough research on that one. Stablecoin, I'm very bullish on this project. I talked about this last live stream. You got the creator of Tether behind this project. And they are a stablecoin, but as you can see, Binance. Binance right now, it is their time to shine in crypto. If you look at almost anything that's trending at this point, Binance is somehow related to it. And again, BNB token is much closer to its all-time high than any other crypto that is at layer 1. Moving on, Solana. I'll break down why it's trending here shortly in a story. And then we got a couple other cryptos, Pump.Fun and Ethereum. I'm bullish on both of those projects, even though I'm not a fan of Pump.Fun. I think if you want to make some money, Pump.Fun is a solid project. All right. So to quickly get into Moon Madness. Moon Madness is us trying to find the top project in crypto out of the top 32, starting at Ethereum, moving all the way down to the Kaspas of the world. Actually, currently Kaspa is outside the top 50. So whenever we started this, Kaspa was higher up, and we just excluded the trading exchange tokens, such as even Binance Coin, for example, or like Leo, all those trading exchanges. And then we also got rid of the USDCs, USDTs, all the stable coins, for example. So in Mood Madness, we're trying to find the crypto that you guys all want to win this thing, right? And myself, Tim, Shrum, we did a stream. We talked about which one we want to win. And at this point, I'm not going to use my voice anymore to skew the results. I think at this point, I kind of tampered a little too much. But as you can see, these are the 4 brackets remaining. You have HBAR versus Doge. Actually, no, you have 2 brackets remaining. Sorry. You have SUI versus HBAR and Kaspa versus ADA. And let me quickly show you guys how to go and vote, because in 24 hours, the voting closes. And if you want one of these 4 cryptos to win, come over here to Tim Warren's page on Twitter. Links in the description of my video right now. So you can go down there, click on Tim Warren's link, and it'll bring you straight here. Let's go ahead and check. I'm going with Kaspa over ADA. ADA, I love you guys. This is close. Again, I'm not going to skew the results in any way, so I'm not going to talk about how, you know, Kaspa or ADA. Anyways, you can see we are neck and neck on that one. But again, you guys have all the influence on this one. Get down there and skew those results. And then we got HBAR versus SUI. I think SUI's going to win this one. And I am right so far. So this one's 62 to 37%. Awesome. So definitely get down there. We got those 4 cryptos left. And by next week, we'll know which one out of the top 32 our community supports the most. All right, so let's go ahead and jump a little bit more into that Aster conversation. Again, you see it on the thumbnail. This project, guys, this is insane. This is sitting at $3 billion market cap, and it has pushed into the top 3 for 24-hour revenue. You're up there with Tether and Circle. Those are both, well, I think Circle's sitting at like 80 billion in market cap, if I'm not mistaken. That's been minted. And then Tether's sitting at like 50 or 160 billion, probably more, in market cap. It doesn't say it up there. But as you can see, Aster, this thing is sitting at $3 billion market cap, is sitting at number 3. It bypassed Hyperliquid, which is a $12 billion market cap project, and you're past the Jupiters and the Trons of the world, which are multi-billion-dollar projects. So that's how you do analysis to find what, you know, where should you put your money? If something's sitting at $3 billion and it's competing with the $100 billion projects, I don't know, maybe asymmetric risk is telling you, get some exposure. And again, this is not financial advice. It's just me as an analyst telling you guys why Aster is not just another crypto, but it looks like it's here to stay. And the cool part about Aster is not just a derivatives play. As you can see in the category right up there, it says derivatives. It's 3 things. So you got derivatives, which essentially is like trading futures. And you can go up to, I want to say maybe 300x leverage on Aster. I know the other play I talked about, Avantis, that one's 500x. Aster's, it's a little bit newer, but they do have a lot more liquidity. So wouldn't be surprised to see that one hit 500x trades. Again, don't go out and do these 500x trades, because if it drops like a cent or 2 cents, you're screwed. So be very careful with doing that kind of stuff. But, you know, doing your 10, 20x longs and shorts, that's cool. But also, it's not just derivatives. It's a decentralized exchange, similar to like a Jupiter, for example. And it's also a DeFi platform, so you can get your borrowing and lending, such as Aave. These protocols they're shaping up what crypto is, you know. And again, all of these things, they're taken from the Jupiters, they're taken from the Radiums, they're taken from everything. You got the 3-in-1s, and they're backed by big names. So, and speaking of big names, you got CZ. This is him doubling down. Well done, good start, keep building. And this is Aster. So he's put his name on this thing multiple times. And it's, somebody kind of asked him, like, with the hate towards Hyperliquid, you know, CZ's saying, let the competition, you know, go into the markets. YZI Labs, that was Binance Ventures. They rebranded earlier this year. Everything they touch turns into gold. So remember, CZ, we don't exactly know exactly how much he has, but I would not fair to mention he's probably somewhere in the top 20 richest in the world. And I wouldn't be surprised to one day see CZ as possibly the richest in the world, because of how much Bitcoin and BNB he owns. And again, those are 2 of the 4 biggest projects in crypto. So, yep, continue to monitor what the rich people and smart money do. And here's another rich and smart person, Brad Garlinghouse. As you can see on the thumbnail, and I'm rocking the XRP shirt today. Very excited to share BlackRock's BITL and VanEck's VBIL. Tokenized fund holders can redeem shares of RLUSD paired with ETH 24/7, 365 through Securitize. What this tells me here, so Securitize, they're up there with having the most total value locked built in real world assets in crypto currently. So if I go on rwa.xyz, Securitize, they're running the markets. You got BITL up there, which is created by BlackRock. That one's in like second place. And then VanEck, we all know who VanEck is. They're a big company. RLUSD is partnered with all three of some of the biggest names. You know, right now, RLUSD is barely even a top 20 stablecoin, but overnight, I would not be surprised to see this thing pop. You know, and USDT is the one to dethrone. Again, you're sitting at over 150 bill in minted tokens, and you're going to have to dethrone them. In my opinion, XRP has the best shot at it, and we're in the starting days. You know, getting exposure to XRP right now is still a good buy, in my opinion, because you've found your niche. It is peer-to-peer networks. I'm not trying to get crazy with it. I don't need to drop meme coins. I don't need to drop even really DeFi. I mean, there's a little bit of DeFi you can build on XRP, but you are a peer-to-peer network. You're focused on the banks, and you got this in a chokehold. So I like to see what Brad Garlinghouse is doing over there with the XRP. If you got some, throw your X's up in chat. Let's go XRP Army. And speaking of chat, let's go ahead and see what you guys are talking about over there in the comments. All right, what up, Army Piper? First person I saw, I see Billy, I see Dean, I see a lot of the OGs up in here. Trade Intuition, I already gave you a shout out. Let me give, add as moderator, I just gave Piper Pipe, moderator. Brian Wild, man, I missed out on AVNT, do I FOMO? All right, Brian, let's go back to the chart. So AVNT is the ticker. Let me tell you why. Again, I am actually still very bullish on this project because, again, Base Network, you have players like Jesse Pollock, you have players like Brian Armstrong, the founders of Base, Coinbase and Base, talking about this project here. It's sitting at 500 mil market cap. You are competing with literally meme coins that have launched on their third day or maybe their first week. So this thing has a ton of utility. I think this is definitely a steal at these prices. And if I compared it to Aster, if I compared it to Hyperliquid, other derivatives of this magnitude, this is by far the best buy. So don't think that you've missed it. Yes, in the Discord, we called it at 60 cents in the free Discord. You know, in a couple years, this thing could be much, much higher. It could be $10, $20, $30, who knows? But if base wins out in the derivatives, this play is the #1 mover. So it's always something to consider. You know, Coinbase knows everything is moving on chain. So they create the Base Network, a L2 scaling solution. They talk about a native cryptocurrency they'll apply launch in 2026. And then here is your Base Network play. So, all right, that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Crypto Billy, what up, brother? Rate cuts with 2% of S&P. All-time high is seeing plus 22% upside on markets 12 months later. Okay, so Piper is saying that we're probably going to have a delayed pump. A lot of times, whenever the rate cuts or interest rates fall, and we start cutting, it does take a while for us to see all-time highs. So I would definitely think that, I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. All right, it seems like Powell's speech kind of caused this. Wasn't good or bad, just meh, says H. Bardano. I'm not sure what Powell said today. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit out of the week. Like, I've kind of been a little bit out of it. Spent this whole weekend with T-Shroom, Smay, and Tim. And yeah, sorry, there's like a fly somewhere. And we were talking more or less about like this quarter that's going forward, as opposed to, I guess, what's happening exactly in crypto. So I'm a little bit out of the weeds, but I did a little research today on those bigger projects. CZ didn't say he backed that. So Krim, I would say CZ did say he backed it with going back to this here, this tweet. No need to hate, even the backers. Competition is great for users. We, YZI Labs, support all portfolios and industry projects. We encourage all teams to build with the best products, services, and protocols for users. Focus on users, not competitors. So with that one, he's saying it's an open market, but then he's also saying, well done, good start, keep building. So I don't see him saying that for Aster or the base products. I see him saying it for the BNB products. So remember, CZ, he's a very smart guy. BNB, I mean, if we go and look at the chart of BNB, this thing moves way different than everything else. It looks, quote unquote, and I don't like to throw this word out a lot, but manipulated, right? And that's because, again, you have one of the world's richest people behind this project. And guess what? He doesn't have paper hands. CZ buys Bitcoin. He buys, he created BNB token. He has a ton of that, and he never sells it. So he probably just borrows against it. We just passed over $1,000 in BNB. Personally, I don't own any. And BNB didn't really wake up until this late in the bull market. But as you can see right here, we went as low as like $200, and it's sitting at $1,000. So that was a 5x from bear market low to cycle high. And to me, that's not worth it. So yes, it's at its all-time high, but Bitcoin by itself went from 15.5 all the way up to 122K for 9.5x. Bitcoin has almost doubled BNB's performance. And guess what? It's not like it created all these major advancements. It's just Bitcoin, right? And that's why I think the programmability layer and all that other fancy stuff needs to stay out of its ecosystem. Let it thrive. Let it just be the slow store of value, slow peer-to-peer. That's all it needs to be. We don't need to get crazy over there. All right, I'll read the 2 more questions, and then we'll move on to the next part. So, what did do, big dog? Got that Sui Play device. Nice, Brandon. I thought they shipped it to the wrong address. I'd have been really upset if they shipped my Sui Play to a different location. Ryan says, what up, Crypto Nation? What up, Crux? Hey, what's up, Ryan? We got Brian saying, swap most of my Morpho for Keeta. So bullish on it. Listened to Ty speak in Discord yesterday for 2 hours. Lots of news. Brian, so I already am tracking one partnership they have over there, and it's huge. So quick spoiler, I'll be dropping a Keeta video here in a couple days. VanEck's son, I talked about VanEck a little bit earlier. His son created I forgot exactly what it is, but they partnered with, I think it's a bank if I'm not mistaken, but they partnered with Keeta, and there's a lot of money over there. So Keeta started to slowly roll out their partnerships, and they actually just rolled out their mainnet, and I'll get into those details here shortly. That's a beautiful ecosystem happening over there, and Ty, that individual is very smart. But if you were to say Morpho for Keeta, I personally hold both. I think they're both worth holding. Don't sell too much of that Morpho. If Sui wakes up, which I think Sui's going to wake up, Morpho's going to do... Actually, no, Morpho is base. Sorry, I'm thinking of DeepBook. So Morpho... yeah, I wouldn't sell too much. Like base, this is the year for base. I've seen a ton of traction go towards base. And I mean, we could say, just like I said earlier with Aster, you know, that type of plays do take away from Morpho, for example, because there's DeFi added to it. So if Aster gets big enough, Morpho is probably going to get depleted. Same with Moonwell. And this is not to spread FUD. Just remember, crypto's competition. Whoever has the highest yields, that's where everyone goes. All right, peer-to-peer for me, for Bitcoin. Yeah, Crypto Billy is saying peer-to-peer. He doesn't want all the smart contracts and JPEGs of kitties. He just wants to be able to send a little bit of Bitcoin to his son. Is that asking too much without anybody getting in the way? Get out of the way, third parties. Get out of the way, banks. We need peer-to-peer, and it needs to be decentralized and secure. And Bitcoin is second to none. All right. With that said, let's go ahead and jump into some more news articles, and then I'll read some more Q&As. Post your questions, guys. I'm here for the next at least 30 minutes. You know, and Q&A is actually my favorite part. So news is cool. Q&A is the best. I like Q&A because I can go off the riff on it. All right, so this guy, we saw the past couple weeks, WorldCoin has been very bullish, and there's a reason. So WorldCoin, a lot of people are fighting it. You know, it sounds very dystopic. It is what it is. I follow price action. I follow partnerships. We know Oracle, the founder of Oracle, actually became the world's richest man for, I think, a couple days until Elon's Tesla like pumped pretty much in the next 48 hours after that. But this guy, Oracle, says OpenAI, well, okay, so right now, this is why I think WorldCoin is worth a solid buy. Because first of all, it is, it goes off of Sam Altman's name. So OpenAI, they are the creators of what WorldCoin is. But if you look at what OpenAI is doing currently, they just got a $100 billion raise from NVIDIA. They got the $300 billion cloud compute partnership with Oracle. And if you look at their ties into Meta and some of the biggest names right now and some of the partnerships over there, I think Apple may have partnered with them, if I'm not mistaken. Sam Altman is the guy right now. You know anything about the FANG stocks, the top 7, Sam Altman is in there like swimwear. So what I'm thinking, WorldCoin, you know, I wasn't the biggest fan last year of it. Again, very dystopic. It sounds crazy, WorldCoin. I think they should have done something better with the name itself. But I think a lot of money is going to go into this, and it's through that OpenAI name. Now, we know Robinhood, they just unveiled the Robinhood Ventures. And this right here is pretty interesting. This is the first time I actually listened to, while flying from Tampa to El Paso yesterday, I listened to this podcast, and it was from the founder of Robinhood. His name's Vlad. And he was talking with, it was on the All In podcast with Chamath Palihapitiya, the crypto czar, David Sachs, and everyone like that. They're releasing this, which is Robinhood Ventures. And for the first time, we're going to get access to what is private. For example, OpenAI. OpenAI is not a publicly traded stock, but we're going to soon get access to all these private through tokenization. So you got to understand what tokenization is in order to get access to this type of stuff. But to me, it's very interesting. I think Hood, H-O-O-D, the ticker, is going to do very well over the next decade because they are pioneers in the space. Again, Vlad, he's probably one of the smartest people in TradFi right now, and they're destabilizing everything. It's been like that really since pre-COVID, or around COVID, around 2020, 2021, whenever, honestly, the GameStop saga is what really sparked them in a negative way. But at the end of the day, their name was out there. Negative publicity became positive, and they are running it. So, you know, I don't know so much what to think about that. Now, Chamath asked Vlad this specific question. He said, have you talked to Sam Altman, and what was his remarks in terms of being able to produce synthetic stock, i.e. tokenization, of a privately traded company? And Vlad, he kind of like, how do I say this? He tried to make it sound as friendly as possible, but I can tell he's kind of making up an answer. I personally would think Sam Altman would be pissed because why would, it's like somebody's taking liquidity from your stock, you know? Is there such thing as a cap if synthetic things could be made and it's pegged 1-to-1, right? So in terms of what paper Bitcoin is, if I bought wrapped Bitcoin or if I bought some other, I mean, technically wrapped Bitcoin is 1-to-1, but there's other ways like ETFs, for example, that they may not be on hand at that moment and it's reflecting the current price. So, Robinhood probably entered my top 5 stocks to hold for a 10-year span. You know, it's up there with the NVIDIA, the Tesla. I think Google's Gemini, I'm very big on AI right now, is definitely worth holding, having some exposure to. And, you know, these valuations are pretty obscene. The valuations of all this stuff, at least stock-wise, is at all-time highs. So NASDAQ, all-time high after all-time high. Markets are doing very well, really ever since Jerome Powell did his thing. Last week, or yeah, I think it was last week on Wednesday or Thursday with the FOMC. And right now we're in the days of what it all means. Rate cuts happen, 25 basis points. We're going to start seeing it here shortly. So what are y'all's thoughts on Robinhood? You know, is anybody holding any hood? Am I alone on that one? Put that in the comments, and let's go ahead and jump into the next article, and then we'll get into some more Q&A here shortly. We got some Solana Mastercard tapped a $300 billion economy. So the National Bank of Kazakhstan will launch its own Tenge-backed stablecoin to bridge crypto and TradFi. So the reason I bring this one up is a lot of people hear Kazakhstan and they're like, why are you even talking about this, this country right now? If you know anything about crypto and hash rate, Kazakhstan is where really China uses. So people quote unquote go offshore in China to Kazakhstan, which is just south of there. And they're using this as their hub of opportunity. And I could track this because I know the third highest hash rate in crypto is Kazakhstan. So you have United States, you have China. The people that essentially illegally mined in China. And then you have Kazakhstan. And then I think Russia's fourth. So this is a lot bigger than it seems. It's not just some small country. Kazakhstan is, think of a kind of a spin-off or derivative of China. And, they're starting to take a completely different approach than what China does. So I think it's pretty big news. And Solana, man, I listened to another podcast and it was from Yakovenko, who is the founder of Solana. This podcast this was also All-In Podcast. And it is insane. They're again looking to be the execution layer of all of crypto. Again, they coin Ethereum as the settlement layer, DeFi and things like that. Solana is the execution layer. And it's interesting to hear his takes on like meme coins. So meme coins has kind of been like a big cause of why Solana has done so well. But we're starting to see the actual execution layer starting to form and the bigger things, especially traditional finance. So all the big players that are joining the markets today, as opposed to like 5 years ago, which would have taken Ethereum, are all going to a Solana. So their venture capital, they're all tied in over there. It's very interesting. Podcasts, honestly, are, in my opinion, the best way to get information nowadays. I don't really follow the news anymore. Twitter and podcast. That's how I find all my crypto information. So let's go ahead and check some more questions you guys have. What you got? Sol would be the future, says Joe Bro. Nah, I agree. Yeah, Solana. Honestly, Solana of all large caps is the best crypto out there, other than Bitcoin. The Bitcoin, again, I think should be most of your portfolio. Unless you don't have a lot in crypto. Like, let's say you have like $4,000. It's all subjective. Some people, $4,000 is a lot. You could take your chances. But if you have a lot of money in crypto, most of it should be in Bitcoin. Again, not financial advice. Solana, again, I think that's the best large cap out there. It has the most potential. It doesn't have the diluted market cap as an Ethereum or even an XRP yet. And its use cases far outweigh what XRP and Ethereum have done so far. Now, Ethereum, I wouldn't fade because their DeFi is just insane. Like, Aave by itself is like the new bank. It's amazing over there. I think Aave is like a top 5 holding of mine. I love Aave. Fire Dancer is coming. What's up? Fire Dancer been here, Ryan. You're probably thinking about the Alpenglow consensus upgrade, which brings the finality of Solana from 15 seconds on average all the way down to around a second, which is insane. That is the thing that's been holding Solana back. The validators with 98% voting approved it. So we're going to go forward with that. Very, very interesting to see the future of Solana. They are, again, second to none in terms of execution across crypto. Love it. Ryan says, yo, breakpoint end of October. The bars will be set. Yeah, Breakpoint is a Solana-based event. Yeah, usually the markets don't really reflect it. It's kind of just like the catalyst that may come. I don't know what else Solana's really going to possibly drop on us that's going to pump the price. But hey, we'll see. AVAX is pumping, says Ryan. I like AVAX. I did an AVAX versus Sui video, and I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it. I went into this thinking that there's going to be a clear winner, and I was wrong. And honestly, it's through the partnerships. So these are two of the biggest cryptos in terms of partnerships right now. And one of them clearly outweighs the other. And that's where the decision was made. Also, there's a couple other things. So one of them got like 7 different wins. in terms of like security, scalability, decentralization, use cases, gaming, AI, like all the things you would evaluate a crypto, at least a layer 1 on. One of them got like 9, the other got 7. So very close between SUI and AVAX. AVAX, I'll tell you, surprised me. And yeah, the institutions are here for that one. And it's really pumping because they have a plan to raise $1 billion by selling AVAX at a discount to the institutions. Institutions are coming in, they're rebranding, and we're at the NASDAQ level. So these are big institutions. These aren't your no-name institutions. And they are completely rebranding from, for example, Lion Group Holding to SUI-G. So their strategy went from X, Y, and Z all the way to this cryptocurrency, and how do we make enough from it? So the micro strategies of the world are starting to bleed into all the altcoins, and treasuries are the number one reason I'm starting to think that we may push past Q4 this year in terms of the 4-year cycle. Also, this pullback that we're kind of having now, remember momentum. So if we shoot straight up into Q4 this year, most likely we'll have a pullback, like a bear market type pullback. But if we slowly go up and right over time through Q4, most likely we'll either peak in next year, or we're just in an up and right forever market, very similar to gold. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm going to be taking a lot of profit later on this year, but that's because I got really good buys this bull market. So, and again, not everyone's in that case. I would actually want to see what you guys are doing. Post your take profit strategies. Are you taking profits this year, or do you think it's going to be next year? I'm definitely curious to read, and I'll actually read those off because it's very important to understand where the consensus of everyone is on this stuff, and especially people that you feel like are smarter than you. So, Bitcoin on Solana, only 21 million Bitcoins on Solana, says Ryan. Yeah, so Solana's a little weird. Solana has no cap in terms of its tokenomics, and the deflationary schedule hasn't really kicked in comparison to its inflation, right? So eventually it's supposed to, I think, kick into, I forgot exactly the rates that they have. Anyways, I'm pretty sure it's still inflationary, and eventually it goes deflationary. But Solana, it's still in its current, like, I still consider it's an infancy. So you see like $100 billion market cap. Don't think you're late. There's still a ton of growth. As you can see, Bitcoin's over 2 trillion. All right. AVAX, yeah. Oh, trade intuition. Crux of crypto to GOAT. Yes, sir. Appreciate you, brother. Hello, Crux. Is it going to crash more? Says Mimoun. Maybe Mimon? I don't have a crystal ball, but what I'll tell you, I think right now we're starting to get to some prices to accumulate on. And let's go ahead and show you a couple projects I think are worth looking into. So first of all, Aster, I talked about it enough here. I'm waiting for it to pull back to, actually, no, let's go with Aster. It's going to be $1.50 for Aster. Yeah, further down here, I mean, there's enough support, a good amount of support at around $1.50. Maybe a little bit lower. We may see even a wick down here to $1.25. I wouldn't be surprised to see Aster come down. I would like for it to come down because, again, I don't have any exposure to this thing. This whole weekend I was just busy. But that's definitely one I'm looking into. I told you about the other one, which was, what was it? Oh, here's another one. So Aether. Aether, you have over 500 dedicated GPUs. This is the overall chart for Aether. Let me go ahead and refresh it here. You're sitting at sub 700 mil market cap. This thing, to me, is a ticking time bomb. I'm not going to put above Render in terms of overall, like, which one I'm a hold, but they're doing a lot more than Render in terms of their current output, and they're very competitive coming from the traditional space into crypto. I'm very bullish on Aether. I would like to see more of a pullback to, just 5 cents even, and we'll see if we can get there. So I don't think anybody should have over 10% of their portfolio in AI. And again, I would always diversify in your AI picks. I think GPU, large language models, and AI agents are going to be like your three best narratives to play. But again, I wouldn't put, don't go crazy, throw all these, Fetch, IONET, Akash, all these crazy projects, and then end up going like 20-30% of your portfolio in AI, because last year, NVIDIA is what really sparked that massive run up in Q1. And we just don't have that same kind of news catalyst to really send AI right now. And that's why I've kind of dialed back a little bit. I used to be about 15% of my portfolio in AI, and now I'm like closer to 10. And that, again, that includes the virtuals, the renders, and those type of plays. Yeah, so Solana, again, I think that's one worth picking up. Dogecoin. A lot of people are slipping, or definitely sleeping on this one. This is a bullish looking chart. You can see higher lows. I mean, technically we got a lower high, but we're working our way up. Dogecoin has outperformed Bitcoin this bull market from its cycle low all the way to its cycle high. And again, I've added it to like 3 of my videos, talked about the treasuries that are forming around it right now, talked about Elon Musk, talked about X payments, Dogecoin. I think that's definitely a solid play to get some exposure to. It's not just a meme coin anymore. We got Doge OS that's adding a programmability layer, very similar to Hemi. I just showed you guys Hemi on Bitcoin. You have Doge OS, which is building over there on Doge. Let's see. Really, most of these plays are pretty solid. So Hyperliquid's one I would stay away from, because again, we don't know what the future looks like for these derivative exchanges that are happening off of the centralized networks like Binance and like, BitMEX and all these other ones. Sui. So Sui is definitely taking a hit. I think at one point Sui was a top 15 project. Last year was the big year for Sui. We've slowed down quite a bit, really ever since the Cetus hack earlier this year. I think this has a solid pickup here. We still got the higher lows, as you can see, and we also got a higher high. So Sui, that's another good one to get some more exposure to. So hope that helps. There's a couple plays that I think are worth picking up. Oh, Crux, you were killing me, Smalls. Yeah, it's okay, Billy. I mean, we can. I mean, I'm not going to agree with everything, and you're probably not going to agree with everything, but that's what makes this place great. We're allowing to hear each other, hear each other out, and there's going to be a lot of people with different, different takes on the whole current state of the markets and what's worth investing into. Again, I hold over 50 projects, so project number 33, it could get rugged, out of nowhere, and I probably wouldn't know until tomorrow. So that's why a lot of people say have like maybe 10 to 15 projects. It's because you can personally spend time with each and every one of those projects. You can follow the team, you can follow the development and all this stuff. But remember, I live, breathe, and everything else, white papers. So every project, all 50 coins that I own, I have done my due diligence and I understand the ins and outs. Now, from the day-to-day stuff that can happen, who knows? Stuff might happen to those projects, and it is what it is. But I'm here to invest in cryptos, like crypto startups and crypto visionaries and those types of things. And to me, Bitcoin, I'm not going to save Bitcoin. Bitcoin's already hit escape velocity, and that's why I've chosen to invest into teams and visionaries as opposed to just the easiest way to get rich, honestly. If you want to get rich, just DCA into Bitcoin, and in the next 20 years, you're good. So that's going to be the easiest way. I like it difficult. I like to, make the world a better place. All these derivative exchanges are giving you access to what the institutions have that you don't have access to because you're not accredited. All these products like OUSG, very centralized products you don't have access to because your net worth isn't $1 million, or you haven't qualified, or you're not living in a different country, or all these things. But the tokenization of assets, and Robinhood is the front runner in this in terms of like the centralized entities through the Robinhood Ventures program, is allowing us to do all of this stuff. Solana, X stocks, you have Aave Markets allowing institutions to dive in. You have Ondo Global Markets allowing, again, institutions to get involved. So the space is getting insane at this point. And I don't know if another 70% pullback is going to suffice in the next bear market. And the only reason I can, or the only way I can see us falling 70% is if we go parabolic into Q4 this year, which doesn't look like it's going to happen. So, Eric Wallen, I see you. Hey, Crux. You know how the process is going to work with Keeta's mainnet launch today. I understand it was a sell the news event, but I assume they're looking at partnerships. Right. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into answering this question. Alrighty. Here we are. So Keeta's mainnet is live on ChainSpec. You can click here and you can actually see it. Okay. I didn't expect all these pop-ups to happen, but there's a little activity you see going on. Boom. So the mainnet, there's having a little activity there. Now, this video is going to drop in a couple of days. Actually, probably Thursday or maybe Thursday. Let's do Thursday. Let's shoot for Thursday. I'm going to finish the script. I'll record it probably tomorrow morning, and I'll get it out to my editor. This one, I'm definitely going to go over the mainnet launch. I'm going to go over a partnership with VanEck and I'm going to go over just a couple other things. I think it's important the Keeta community, you guys are following me. Caspa and Keeta, you guys seem to be like the main contributors to the Crux of Crypto channel, and I love you guys. So I'm going to definitely be as truthful as possible. I'm not going to continue to shield projects I personally don't believe in, and I own both these projects. So in terms of Keeta, you know, the price action, I wouldn't be surprised if it is dumping. So it's down 13% today. That's definitely going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news event. We have a ton of support here at about 75 cents. That's what I've been telling people to buy at, you know, for the past couple of weeks, is about 75 cents. If you can get Keeta at 75 cents, you are doing something right. Because I honestly believe that this is, I'm not going to say it's the biggest competitor to XRP, but for the asymmetric risk of something sub 400 mil market cap, and it's in the same room as a Brad Garlinghouse, etc. You know, I think Ty Shank is a visionary, and I invest in visionaries. So let's see. I wouldn't have over like maybe 3 to 5% of my portfolio in something like this. Very speculative, and I would definitely have, you know, diversification, of course. Again, if I'm taking profits from something and putting it into Keeta, it's probably going to be XRP. Again, same use case. They're chasing the Visas of the world. They're chasing the global banks. And yeah, so they're not getting crazy with all the smart contracts and cat JPEGs. Let's get into a little bit more news, and then I'll read a final session of Q&A. So Plume Network, I haven't talked about them in a minute. They're not going anywhere. We probably have, let's check their current TVL, actually. I'm going to go out on a whim and say it's going to be around 350 mil to 400. Let's see. Dang. Oh yeah, they're crushing it. 570 mil. Let's go. I haven't checked this in like 2 weeks, so I'm a little bit off, as you can see, in a good way though. So 570 is much higher than 350 that I thought, or 400. And let's look at the market cap. You're sitting at 309 mil. Very high TVL for something at that low of a market cap. Plume, very good asymmetric risk out there. And they just got a big name. USDC natively put on their network. They are layer one, built for real world assets. You know, all these RWA players have so many different networks to choose from. I don't think they're going to be like any one big winner. But I'll tell you, you look at those day one protocols, the centrifuges. Again, I talked a little bit earlier about them. They are the biggest RWA asset player in the space. Then you got the Morpho Labs. They're the biggest in the base network. The Nest Credit, they're huge in terms of TradFi. You know, I love to see what Plume is doing. Here's a good feel-good article. You guys know I like to throw the feel-good articles out there. $1.3 trillion Morgan Stanley to offer Bitcoin and crypto trading in the first half of 2026. And I just talked about the 4-year cycle possibly ending. Guys, some of the biggest names in traditional finance are allowing you to get you know, Bitcoin and trade crypto. I think this is through E-Trade. I'm pretty sure Morgan Stanley's brokerage is E-Trade. So you'll be able to trade more on that platform. $1.3 trillion is nothing to scoff at. And pretty sure, let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's about wraps up the news. Now, Billy Goattails, you guys see Crypto Billy in there. He's the mod. I love the guy. Givers Gain is the hashtag of this community. All about family, all about crypto, and all about fun. You know, so you could see right here, set the reminder for my upcoming space. Every Tuesday at 6 p.m. my time, it would be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m. These guys have about an hour to 2 hours worth of discussion, and it's not always just specifically crypto. So if you go in there, it's probably not going to be like someone like myself throwing all these random projects in your face and trying to tell you all this stuff. It's going to be about the good of Bitcoin, what blockchain is doing to change the world, and what we're doing to make the world a better place. Again, it's very family oriented. I strongly recommend you guys check them out. Again, Billy Goattails on Twitter. They're also on YouTube, so they're creating content to educate the masses. It's a little more simple than my content. Again, my content's extremely complex in terms of content creation on YouTube. Most people don't talk about as many projects as I do. Again, I'm not loyal to any community, so this whole stream, I haven't even really mentioned Caspa, and a lot of people think I'm a Caspa bull, which I am, but I don't have any, I'm not trying to be the guy in Caspa. I'm trying to give every, at least valuable crypto project its flowers. The Asters of the world, they may have launched a week ago. They may have not have even proved anything, but I'm going to give it at least a fair chance because I think in this space, everyone deserves at least a shot. So, all right, let's read a couple more Q&As. And my scene transitions have been horrible since my Stream Deck has not worked, but we're still getting it done, and that's all that matters. Michael says, I've already taken profits on some stuff. When it's up 5x, you've got to take your initial investment out. I think for gems, when you're up 2x, take it out. So the riskier it is, the earlier you should take profits. Tony says, yo, what up, Crux? What up, Tony? Hope everything is well. Our concurrent is good, so I'm going to continue to stream until the concurrent falls off. All the questions you guys have, I'm here for you. All right, Retro Mike Tex, XRP to, hang on. Where'd it go? XRP to $589, Caspa to 0. All right, Retro, I just told you I haven't even talked about Caspa once. And now you got me talking about Caspa. So, 0 is, I'm not going to say it's impossible. I will not say it's impossible. A lot of people hate when I bring up the emission schedule of Caspa, but that's okay. We can agree to disagree. It's something that can be fixed. If enough voters vote on anything in proof of work networks, anything can change. XRP to 589, I know you don't really believe that, at least in the near future. So these are memes. Retro Mike, he's not a meme. He's into proof of work mining. So if you want to learn about mining, go check him out on X. He's also part of Givers Gain, hashtag Givers Gain. So you saw Billy Goattails. That's where all of us really merge. You'll see a lot of very smart people over there. So, and again, crypto itself is very diverse. You have the gem hunters like myself. You have the visionaries such as, Crypto Billy or an R&B Piper or a Tradefly who are trading. You have the trade intuitions who are trading. You have, there's so many different things in crypto. Not everyone here is for the same thing. So, if you're making money with gems and you like gem hunting, then I'm definitely going to be the channel to follow. But yeah, if you like mining, check out Retro Mike Tech. Does it include NVIDIA? Is Michael S. I'm not sure what that goes to. So I brought up NVIDIA because of their $100 billion partnership with OpenAI. And I just said earlier, Sam Altman is the guy. Sam Altman is partnered with a lot of the, I'm pretty sure over half of those FANG stocks over there. And he seems to be the one making things change. ChatGPT is insane. I use it daily. It's my chosen LLM. In some ways, I like Grok over it. So if it's crypto specific, I like Grok because Grok is connected to X. X, in my opinion, is the best spot to find information on crypto. But most thing else, ChatGPT is the way. Present says Tau and Ondo seem massive with their recent partnerships, I would say. Yeah, so Tau's definitely going to be a top 3 AI play for me. Actually, I would put it at number 1. So if I could only hold one AI play, Tau would be it. And also, Ondo is my number 1 RWA play. If I can only hold one RWA play, and by RWA, I mean specifically made for RWA. So, Avalanche doesn't count. Those type of plays don't count, as that's like a main net with subnets and stuff. Ondo is very slept on. That market cap is very low for what it's willing to do. And Ondo change is going to change the way traditional finance enters the markets. So thank you, Trade Intuition, for dropping that link. Definitely join our Discord. It's free. We have 3,700 members plus in there. We have, again, I want to say like 270 of you guys are part of our membership program, which it just actually went up. So we have 3 different ones. We have the Essentials. The Essentials is more or less for like your people that already understand trading. We have a trading group and those type of things. We have the Academy. These are people brand new to trading. Myself, I teach you how to do fundamental analysis. Tim teaches you how to do technical, so you know what to buy and when. And then the Gem Hunters, that's a program that I run in the Discord server. And we've had about 15 members so far, and we are crushing it in terms of being able to find those gems. Again, 25% of the gems that we've called in there, 25, 1 out of 4, have doubled in 48 hours, within 48 hours after calling the buy. So that's insane. And we also tell people, once you get 2x on your initial investment, sell it. At least sell out the initial and let the rest run. So it's at that point, it's free. Your trade is free. And that's what we're doing over there in the Gem Hunter. So you can check out those 3 memberships in the description of this. And yeah, thank you guys for the support. Crux, you like the journey to wealth? Yes, Carl. That is a very good way, a very good statement, actually. The journey to wealth, right? Again, if I wanted to just survive and make as much money as possible, I just DCA Bitcoin. You can't beat it. But I like the journey. I like finding the good plays. I like helping the teams. I like creating the space better, And that's why I'm in these altcoins. So to me, it doesn't really matter what, smart money's doing or all this other stuff is doing. I have my personal goal, I have my mission I'm on, and what better space than YouTube to create content and educate the masses. So Brian says, Crux, didn't think Aviant and Aster taking liquidity from Morpho. That is a great point. Yeah. So these things are like super protocols. You got 500x leverages on Aviant. You have, decentralized exchanges on Aster. Decentralized exchange capabilities on Aster. But then you also have DeFi yield. So I think the average yield right now on Aster products is like 9%. These guys are crushing it. That's very competitive to the Aves of the world. And is crypto turning to this? We're going to have these super protocols that allow you to do everything that you need, instead of just the Morphos that allows you to do borrowing and lending, and the aerodromes that allows you to trade cryptos, etc. Right? So the best bet to stay on top of this is find the healthy ecosystems like Base or even like Binance, and then you invest in their top plays. Don't get crazy with it. If you see like number 4 DEX on the hottest system, like I'd probably stay away from it. I just need to get the number 1 DEX, Aerodrome on Base, Cetus, or even Deepbook on Sui, Jupiter or Radium on Solana, etc. I don't have to jump all the way down there to the Orcas, jump all the way down there to, all these other plays, because at that point it just gets a little risky. And then trading volume, that's going to be your biggest way to really evaluate what works in crypto, because that's where everyone's going. You want to follow the trading volume. All right, let's see more. Subway footing. Okay. Subway footlongs will also be $1,000. Get excited. Not sure what you meant by that. Maybe this is an inflation joke, Retro Mike. Maybe I didn't read it wrong, or maybe I read it wrong. Retro, you're not funny. Look, you're trying to be over here causing jokes. Look, you're throwing me off. Retro. You don't know anything about Caspa. That's the crazy part. You mine, and you figured out unprofitable, and then you get upset with it. Whenever I say proof of work network shouldn't even be profitable when you mine, and people get upset. That's my take. Proof of work network should not be profitable when you mine. And that's because the loyal people should be putting forward their money into protecting the network. And that's how you know you got the most honest validators out there. So if you're mining to make money, what's your intention? To get rich. I'd rather have somebody who is putting money forward with the project in mind than anything else. So that's my take on proof of work. I always actually just this quarterly meeting this weekend, we talked about possibly launching a prove me wrong series, right? So on Twitter, I say proof of stake is better than proof of work. Prove me wrong. And I just open the floor. You guys can come in, you can try to debunk me. And honestly, I think proof of stake is better than proof of work, by the way. I also believe in use cases. So if it's a peer-to-peer network, proof of work is better. Everything else, like DeFi, whatever, gaming, proof of stake is much better. And at that point, everybody can learn. You can go back, you can hear what Crux has to say. You can hear what Retro Mike would have to say. I know everything about Caspa, which is why I know it's all overhyped without adoption. I mean, you tell me, is it overhyped? So something getting to 2 billion market cap in its first bull market, something very important to note is Caspa has not really depegged, but it kind of has, you know? When Bitcoin was falling last year, Caspa continued going up to 22 cents. And then when Caspa was pumping this year, when Bitcoin was pumping this year, Caspa was like a stable coin. So this project, it's just different. It's not like your typical crypto. Again, I believe in visions, and I think Caspa has a lot of potential. So miners' purpose of existence is to mint coins and put them into circulation. If miners kept the coins, there wouldn't be any circulating supply. Very true. But you're going to have to sell because, well, you don't have to sell, but eventually you have to pay off those electricity costs. Unless you just keep on just front loading everything and paying the electricity and eventually just stack it all up. And then you mined Bitcoin at a couple cents and now it's worth over $100,000. So those people that are able to mine and keep it, especially since the early stages, do very well. So proof of work, mining, that's something I'll probably learn a little bit more in the bear market. And yeah, just join our Discord for sure, because we're going to cover that kind of stuff. Trading and proof of work mining is something I'm going to learn in the bear market. So follow along. Most miners I know hold 50% and sell 50%. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Right. So, all right. Well, concurrent slowly dropping. We got about 61 people in here. Couple hundred views. Average duration, a little over 15 minutes. The stats on YouTube are pretty dope. It allows me to see who's here. And that's how I pick my mods. If you've been here, been active, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys some mods right now. Say something if you want to be a mod. That is a moderator. Boom, standard. You stuck with me past a full hour of content, and I think you guys should be rewarded. So hand them out. Let's go. There you go. There you go. You get one. You get a car. You get a car. What up, Crux? I got you, Eric Wallen. You should have been a mod. You get a managing mod. There you go. All right. I've been here the whole time, says Michael S. Yes, you have. CeeLo, you get managing mod. Michael, you can become a mod as well. Don't look. If I see y'all kicking everybody, I'm taking privileges away. All right. So here. I don't know why, Michael, I gave it to you. I don't know why it's not showing. Yeah. So I'm not sure why it's not showing you, Michael. I tried to give it to you. Appreciate the content, says Crypto Dave. Let's go ahead and give you mod as well. All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm here Tuesday, Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard. Today wasn't the the best day to be in crypto. Some days are better than others. Some days you just hodl. Some days you look for the good buys. And that's what I'm here for. I'm trying to help you guys find the good and the bad and protect you from the bad. And again, this is not financial advice. So thank you guys for supporting the channel. be on the lookout. Keeta video drops later this week, probably on a Thursday or Friday. And then I'm thinking of the next video that I'm going to do. It might be a part 3 to my 10K, 1 to 10K video series. So a couple of months ago, I dropped a video trying to turn $1,000 into 10K. And what I'm doing every month, I update it. So it's very fun. It's very entertaining. It's very eye-opening, and you learn a lot. Ross says, thank you for your labors, Crux. Eric says, man, cannot ban miners. You are the builders of the world. Right, Eric. That's the beauty behind decentralized networks like Bitcoin is we've figured it out. You know, now we got to do the same thing with AI and these technologies. Brian says, so does that mean Aviant over Morpho for multiples this run? All right, so Aviant is sitting about the same market cap as Morpho, but has a lot more, I would say it has a lot more potential. Yeah. I mean, I hold a lot more Morpho than Aviant. That's because Morpho's been around a lot longer. Aviant I got a little exposure to around that 60-cent buy call that we did in Discord. Yeah, if I can only hold one, I'd go with Aviant. So Morpho is more proven. Aviant is more speculative. But again, knowing me, I just buy both. That's why I own so many different cryptos, is because I'd rather have like a little bit in a lot of different plays than a lot in a couple different plays. And, you know, it works for me. So, Alexander Cobb, Caspa under 8 cents, take out a loan. Yeah, you put a question mark. I'm glad you put a question mark. Don't take out loans and buy Caspa. If you're going to take out a loan, the only thing you should maybe put it in is Bitcoin. I took out a loan last cycle, $100,000 loan. Wait, what was it? Yeah, I took out like $100,000 loan, threw it into ADA, and turned it into like $2,000, and then wrote it back down to 100,000. And then I made a little bit. I probably made like 10K or something, and then broke out, and then paid off the loan or whatever. But that was the riskiest thing. Like looking, you know, hindsight's 2020. You learn a lot doing dumb stuff. And I would only take out a loan in a bear market. So let's say Bitcoin goes to 180K. It drops all the way down to 90K, 50% retracement. I would then take a loan, use my $90,000 Bitcoin as collateral. And then, you know, it might drop to 70K, whatever. You could then reinvest it into Bitcoin, or you could invest it into Ethereum or whatever. I would never, knowing what I know now, take a loan in crypto in a bull market. It's just too risky. James says, hi, Crux. You mentioned decentralized science as a new category of crypto. I hold Bio token. Can you recommend and do any more DeFi tokens? Or could you make a video on DeFi crypto? That's a good question. I'm not a big fan of decentralized science. I think it's just too new. I think that's more of a next bull market type play. For now, if I were you, I would just focus on just how do I say this? There's one called Research Coin. Let me quickly show you and we'll wrap this up. Again, I'm not going to shill it, but Research. This is the only decentralized science token I would even consider getting, because it has like a good wrap. Like this thing goes all the way back to, you know, late 2022. So it's went all the way through the last bear market. It did fairly well this bull market, and we could see it has higher lows, higher highs. Not a bad looking project or bad looking chart, actually. 65 mil market cap. It's a gem. It has, pretty sure it has ties into Coinbase, if I'm not mistaken. Like Coinbase Ventures has put money into this thing. So that's the only DeFi play I would ever think about getting exposure to. I own none. I think decentralized science is just way too new of a narrative. You see like AI agents last year popping off, and then where are they at? Where is AI XBT? Where is AI 16Z? Where are they? You know? So at this point, I'd rather invest into like virtuals. I still think is a good buy, but really no other AI agent type plays I'm thinking about considering. It's really virtuals or none at this point. And I'd rather play like the base, like the top play of a hot narrative. And Research Coin is the hot play of DeFi. So That one I would definitely do a little research on, but the one you just said, yeah, maybe in Discord. Ping me in Discord and I got you. Trade Intuition. Can I get a loan for 7 million? I'll pay high interest. Yeah, no, I ain't got that kind of money, bro. 7 mil? Shoot, I wish. To be fair, if I had that kind of money, I'd still be here with you guys because again, I'm here because of crypto. I don't need YouTube or whatever. I'm here because I believe in this, and I think you guys are in the right place because you want somebody like that. You don't want somebody just trying to get rich and shield memberships. Really, I don't even talk that much about memberships. I gave my little pitch earlier, and then each video I give a pitch, but I'm here to get you guys in the free Discord server. That's it, because you learn more in that Discord server and on this live stream than you are probably anywhere else in YouTube. So, Brian Armstrong's coin. Armstrong launched it. What are you talking about, Eric Wallen? Airdrops are coming. Carl says, I think decentralized science will be big in the future. I agree, Carl. I definitely think it'll be big. Just give it some time. You don't have to rush into it right now. We don't have to get crazy with it. I just gave you guys like 5 to 10 different solid cryptocurrencies. Right, Eric says research. So that's the token I just talked about. I knew it had ties into Coinbase somehow. And that's your best bet for DeFi research coin is Armstrong's coin. With that being said, appreciate all you guys, and I'm sorry for the scenes. Like, everything's a little wonky right now. I'll have it fixed. I'll be here Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard. Catch you guys.